The Philippines have historically been full of peaceful, happy people. It is an island country off the coast of China. While it has faced hardships before, like colonization, their citizens have always recovered. Now, rampant government corruption, rebel violence, and deadly floods are combining to create a dangerous concoction, one that can potentially have an extremely adverse effect. December 2011, Typhoon Washi makes its landfall in the Philippines. Catastrophic flash flooding caused by these storms would cause over 1,200 deaths, not to mention the deaths that would come later from the diseases and famine. Many people were washed away over 10 hours of torrential rain. Houses on mountainsides were destroyed in landslides. Can you describe the environment when you arrived in the Philippines?
Since I arrived in the Philippines in the midst of Typhoon Ganeer just over a week ago, the skies have been consistently dark, the streets eerily quiet, and torrential rain has been pelting down, only stopping momentarily. I was scared, not for myself, but for the people whose homes were being destroyed.
Residents who were lucky enough to survive had to get on the roofs of their houses to escape the raging waters and endure 55-mile-per-hour winds. Damaged roads and bridges hampered recovery efforts. Was there an evacuation plan? What did people do for shelter?
Even though the area has been deemed a danger zone, these communities have still set up homes there in makeshift houses with little more than plywood for shelter. For people without a steady income, this is their only option. They have nowhere else to go, can't afford rent, and have to build their homes on the only land available to them.
And I'm 9 years old. As you can see, it's wet. There's water everywhere. So this is what happens during some floods in the Philippines. They're very massive and they can destroy lots of homes, and it just brings lots of destruction. Imagine what it was like for the people who live here. Many had to be rescued. The water destroyed many homes, especially in areas where a lot of poor people live. And there are many water puddles, which makes it very slippery and hard for people to walk on this area. Everyone is now focused on cleaning up all the mess. They want to go back to living normal lives. But people in the Philippines know natural disasters like this happen.
How have people in the community reacted to this?
Yesterday, I witnessed people grabbing their belongings and racing to evacuation centers as their houses were completely crumpled by the crashing waters. Yet, fearing they wouldn't be able to return to the land if they left, some men stayed, climbing onto the roofs, kicking away the debris swept along the torrents to protect their fragile homes. One woman stood screaming at her husband to get down and leave with her, but he wanted to stay until the bitter end.
What else did you see while you were there?
I also visited an evacuation center this morning. The size of a basketball pitch, it was filled to the brim with over 600 people, families sleeping side by side, children everywhere. Local government workers are providing hot food, a godsend for those poor communities whose lives have been turned upside down.
How do you feel about the evacuations and rescue trainings?
I feel immensely proud that our partners have provided the people we've met with evacuation and rescue training, helping them to take control in this hazardous environment and saving many lives. With this knowledge and guidance, they will be able to slowly rebuild their lives.
The floods that have been caused by the typhoons and monsoon rains have displaced as much as 780,000 people far from their homes. Basic infrastructure like railroads and roads have overflowed. Benito Ramos, the local president, said that it was like a water world. Landslides have buried houses and crushed people, including children. Last night it was raining cats and dogs, or even like elephants banging on your rooftop, said CNN reporter Ramel Panera. You cannot sleep when it's raining for hours like this. It's like a deluge. The flooding has claimed at least 60 lives, and thousands more are now homeless. The floods have either directly or indirectly adversely affected 2.68 million people. Farming communities have lost large amounts of money from their destroyed crops. Electronic devices sold by merchants have been damaged. Food relief shelters are faced with a massive amount of people who need food. With electrical infrastructure gone, local residents are turning to candles and oil lamps to illuminate their homes. Illnesses such as dengue fever and malaria are spreading extremely quickly. In the Philippines, an estimated 26% of Filipinos do not have improved sanitation, translating to more than 24 million people. Almost 8 million Filipinos are openly defecating, which is the third highest total in the Asia-Pacific region. It's been estimated that in the aftermath of the typhoons, an estimated 67,000 children under 5 are at risk of malnutrition. Children in poor, remote areas are particularly vulnerable. Government corruption, the floods are not the only problem in the Philippines. In December of 2012, the Philippines is still perceived as one of the most corrupt countries in the world, getting a score of 34 on a scale of 1 to 100, with 100 being very clean, and it's still the most corrupt one in East Asia. The Republic of the Philippines suffers from widespread corruption, means of corruption including graft, bribery, embezzlement, backdoor deals, nepotism, and patronage. Corruption is not just a problem limited to the citizens of the Philippines. A restrictive constitution limits foreign corporations as well from conducting business. The Philippine Constitution prohibits foreigners from owning land in the country, but allows for 50-year leases, with one 25-year renewal. The ambiguous deed and property system can make it difficult to establish clear ownership of leased land, however, and an inefficient judiciary results in land disputes that can extend indefinitely. U.S. investors report that these disputes can be a particularly significant barrier to investment in the mineral exploration and processing sectors from the USTR. The Philippine political arena is arranged and operated by influential families instead of democracy. About 120,000 people have been killed and 2 million displaced in the rebellion. This rebellion has also affected foreign investment, especially in areas rich with resources like oil and natural gas. Without investments, the economy of the Philippines won't improve. Formed by Egypt-educated Islamic cleric Salamat Hashim when he broke away from the Moro National Liberation Force, the group has about 11,000 members and is centered in Mindanao. The MILF has been fighting to take control over an ancestral homeland. Violence like beheadings have been taking place, and citizens are often caught in the crossfire. Villages have been occupied and hostages taken. Fortunately, the Philippine government has made peace talks with the MILF on October 15, 2012, making Mindanao an autonomous region. This semi-independent Muslim area would have more just share of revenues from the extraction of its own plentiful resources, budgetary autonomy, its own police, and Sharia law only for Muslims. The Philippines have been ravaged by floods, violence, and rebel forces all at the same time. Citizens are crying out for help. We need to protect the affected population, support the government in reparations and peace talks with the MILF, and support the return to normality. Although insecurity and limited humanitarian access exists in some areas, continued monitoring should hopefully help. You might be asking, how can I help, or how can I stop the floods and violence? Well, organizations like UNICEF and the Red Cross gladly accept donations that go towards helping the situation in the Philippines. Additionally, telling someone you know about the crisis is beneficial. Through advocacy and donations, perhaps the citizens of the Philippines will enjoy a happier and peaceful life.